There was a time when luxury meant excess. Bigger houses, louder voices, more attention, more proof that you were seen, admired, envied. Visibility was currency, exposure was power. If people knew your name, your face, your habits, your thoughts, you were winning. Or at least that's what we were taught. But something has shifted, quietly, almost invisibly. And now, without most people realizing it yet, privacy has become the rarest and most valuable form of luxury left. Privacy used to be ordinary. It was the default. Your thoughts belonged to you. Your mistakes faded with time. Your moments lived and died within the walls they happened in. Now, privacy is something you have to defend, protect, actively choose. And the fact that it's becoming harder to keep is exactly why it's becoming more valuable. Look around. Everyone is sharing, constantly. Where they are, what they think, what they feel, what they're planning, what they're afraid of. The world has turned confession into entertainment, exposure into validation. The more you reveal, the more you're rewarded. Likes, views, attention, relevance. But rewards always come with a cost, and the cost of constant visibility is control. When everything about you is visible, nothing about you is protected. Your patterns are known. Your weaknesses are documented. Your emotional states are predictable. You become easy to read, easy to influence, easy to sell to. Privacy isn't just about hiding information. It's about maintaining autonomy, and autonomy is the foundation of power. People often confuse privacy with secrecy. They are not the same. Secrecy is hiding out of fear. Privacy is choosing what deserves access. Privacy is intentional. It's selective. It's knowing that not everything meaningful needs an audience. Especially not an algorithm. The modern world rewards performance, not depth. It encourages you to turn your life into content, your opinions into hot takes, your growth into updates, your pain into narratives. But when you constantly externalize your inner life, you lose something subtle but profound. You lose the ability to be unknown, and being unknown is freedom. When you are unknown, you can move without expectation. You can change without announcement. You can fail without spectacle. You can succeed without distortion. The more visible you are, the more rigid you become. People project onto you. They freeze you into a version they understand. Privacy keeps you fluid. This is why truly powerful people tend to be private. Not because they are hiding something shameful, but because they understand leverage. Information is leverage. Silence is leverage. When people don't know your next move, you keep options open. When they don't know your struggles, you process them without interference. When they don't know your plans, you protect them from sabotage, comparison, and premature judgment. Privacy also protects your nervous system. Constant visibility keeps you in a state of mild performance anxiety. Even when you're not actively sharing, you're aware that you could be seen, evaluated, interpreted. This background pressure drains energy. It fragments attention. Privacy gives your mind room to breathe. There is a psychological cost to being watched. Humans were not designed for constant observation. We evolved in small groups with limited exposure. Now exposure is infinite. The result is a subtle but persistent tension. You start living slightly outside yourself. You curate instead of experience. You anticipate reactions instead of listening to intuition. Privacy brings you back inside. It allows experiences to belong fully to you. Moments don't need to be documented to be real. Feelings don't need witnesses to matter. Growth doesn't need validation to count. When you reclaim privacy, you reclaim presence. This is why privacy feels luxurious now. Not because it's flashy, but because it's scarce. Anyone can buy attention. Very few can afford invisibility. Anyone can share. Very few can hold back. Restraint has become the new status symbol. And here's the paradox. The more you protect your privacy, the more grounded you become. The more grounded you become, the less you need external validation. The less you need validation, the more power you have. Privacy creates a self-reinforcing loop of stability. People who live privately tend to make cleaner decisions. Without the pressure of public opinion, they can listen to their own reasoning. They can change their minds without embarrassment. They can explore ideas without committing to an identity prematurely. This flexibility is rare and it's incredibly valuable. Privacy also sharpens relationships. When not everything is public, intimacy becomes meaningful again. Trust deepens because access is earned, not assumed. Conversations become richer when they're not performative. Connection improves when it's not broadcast. There is also a protective aspect. The more people know about you, the more they feel entitled to opinions about your life. Your choices become public property. Your mistakes become entertainment. Privacy creates boundaries that reduce noise and intrusion. If this perspective is resonating, it's likely because part of you already feels overstimulated, overexposed, tired of being available. Staying connected to ideas like this isn't about rejecting modern life, but about learning how to move through it without losing yourself. Choosing to stay subscribed becomes a quiet way of continuing that recalibration. Privacy also allows you to develop a richer inner world. When you're not constantly expressing, you're reflecting. When you're not performing, you're processing. This internal depth makes you more resilient. You're less shaken by external feedback because your sense of self is not built on it. The most interesting people are often the least visible. Not because they're hiding, but because they're living. They're focused on mastery, not metrics, meaning not momentum. Their lives are full, even if you don't see them. There's a reason trends cycle so quickly. Constant exposure demands novelty, but privacy allows continuity. You can build something slowly, quietly, without interruption. Many of the most impactful ideas, creations, and transformations happen away from the spotlight. Privacy is also essential for emotional honesty. When you know everything might be seen, you edit yourself. You soften truths. You exaggerate strengths. In private, you can be real. You can admit confusion, fear, doubt. And that honesty is where growth actually happens. Another aspect of privacy as luxury is choice. When you're private, you choose when to be visible. You choose when to speak, when to share, when to engage. Visibility becomes a tool, not a default. And tools are meant to be used intentionally, not constantly. People who lack privacy often feel reactive, always responding, always explaining, always clarifying. Privacy restores agency. You act because you want to, not because you're expected to. As the world becomes louder, quieter lives become more attractive. As information becomes abundant, discernment becomes valuable. As attention becomes fragmented, focus becomes powerful. Privacy sits at the center of all three. If you're still listening, it's because this isn't just theoretical. You've felt the difference between moments lived privately and moments shared too quickly. You've noticed how some experiences lose their magic once exposed. Staying subscribed to reflections like this helps you protect what still feels sacred. Privacy also protects future versions of you. When everything is documented, past identities linger. They follow you, they limit you. Privacy allows evolution without a permanent record. You can outgrow ideas without being haunted by them. This is especially important in a world that never forgets. The internet remembers what you no longer are. Privacy gives you room to become someone new without dragging every previous version behind you. Luxury has always been about freedom. Freedom from necessity. Freedom from constraint. Freedom from noise. In that sense, privacy is the ultimate luxury. It frees you from the demand to explain yourself, from the pressure to be seen, from the obligation to perform. People often say, "I have nothing to hide." But privacy isn't about hiding wrongdoing. It's about protecting meaning. You don't leave valuable things unattended just because they're not illegal to take. The more intentional you become about privacy, the more you notice how much of modern life is designed to erode it. Notifications, prompts, requests to share, requests to engage, requests to react. Resisting doesn't require isolation. It requires boundaries. Boundaries are another form of luxury. They cost energy to maintain, but they save energy in the long run. Privacy is a boundary between your inner world and the demands of the outside. When you protect that boundary, you start moving differently, slower, more deliberately. You stop rushing to comment, to respond, to announce. You let things settle. You let yourself settle. This is where clarity comes from, not from constant input, but from space between inputs. Privacy creates that space. As this way of living becomes rarer, it becomes more noticeable. People sense it. They may not name it, but they feel it. Calm, grounded, unavailable to noise. Privacy creates a quiet gravity. Staying connected to these ideas reinforces that gravity. Subscribing isn't about more information. It's about less distraction, less noise, more depth. Over time, you may find that you care less about being seen and more about being aligned, less about broadcasting and more about building, less about sharing and more about experiencing. Privacy also brings dignity back into life. Not everything needs commentary. Some things deserve reverence, silence, time. The world will continue to push for exposure. It benefits from it. But you don't have to comply with every invitation. You get to decide what parts of you are public and what parts remain yours. And that decision, made repeatedly, shapes the quality of your life. In the end, privacy is the new luxury not because it's trendy, but because it's rare. Not because it's impressive, but because it's freeing. In a world that wants constant access to you, choosing privacy is choosing yourself. Quietly, deliberately, powerfully. Deliberately,